Welcome to Dreamers and Winners Podcast with your host, T.R. Burns. And I have a great show for you today. We're talking about the pain of perfection. No matter what facet that you are in your business, your dreaming, your life, we all many times as creators and dreamers and entrepreneurs struggle with the fact that I must be perfect. And it haunts us, it challenges many of us, and it causes us to really be very hard on ourselves. So in this episode of Dreamers and Winners with T.R. Burns, we're going to dig deep into the pain of perfection. And I'm excited for this show because this is our first show where you can see me. Yes, we are broadcasting and we are recording not only audio, but now video. So you'll be able to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also make us the #1 podcast in the world. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back with Dreamers and Winners with T.R. Burns.
Many times as dreamers, we want to see things happen and come to pass. But I want to tell you that what you say has a lot to do with what you see. And so let's do some speech therapy. If you want things to happen in your life positively, in your business, in your dreams, in your marketplace initiatives, you have to speak the things that you want by faith. And so you have to begin to take a list, write it down. This is how many clients I want. This is what I want to happen in my family, and begin to confess them by faith every day. And you will have what you say. It's just that simple. It is not rocket science or magic, but you have to believe that what you say will be. The essence and the core of it is believing that it's not just mere words that I'm saying, but these words are framing my atmosphere. They're framing my life, my environment, and so they are real to me, and I speak them because they're real. This is 1 Minute Motivation with T.R. Burns.
Welcome back to Dreamers and Winners with T.R. Burns, and we have a great show. As we said in our intro, we're talking about the pain of perfection. This show is really something that just came to me. I was at the restaurant, I was on the line, and one of the cooks made an error, and it wasn't, just a regular error. It was something that was a major error, right? And it really, rubbed me wrong. And I shouldn't have been that irritated by that. But the fact was that as I was sitting there thinking about why I'm irritated, and other things going on in the business that I was irritated about, is that I realized that I have a problem with trying to be perfect. And that expectation of perfection, I can't achieve, and so it's frustrating sometimes when you are trying to be perfect and you still are not perfect. And, as I was thinking there, I was like, I wonder how many other entrepreneurs and dreamers are going through the same situation that I'm going through, right? Where you want things to be right. You want to be excellent. And there's nothing wrong with that, but your expectation is so high that you don't want to have no error. You can't have no margin of error. And so, I started thinking about that, and I said, you know what, I'm going to really talk to my listeners and my viewers today about this, because we all need some deliverance in this area, some healing in this area. So, I thought about it. I said, okay, how are we going to do this? Because some people see perfection as a good thing, and there's a certain level of good striving for excellence, but it's the processing of when you don't receive or you can't achieve that level of perfection. And I love the Bible because it says that we will not be perfect until that which is perfect has come, which is Jesus. And so it's nothing wrong to strive for perfection, but we will lose our minds. We will lose people because we're holding them to a certain expectation they can't meet because of our inability to process things the correct way, even when we don't achieve or we miss that mark. So society has created a falsehood, right? In order to be great, you have to be perfect. In order to be great, you have to be perfect. In order to be successful, you must have an insurmountable amount of materialistic things, right? In order for you to be great. Sorry. And so a lot of times we don't know how to process greatness. We don't know how to process the place we are at. And so we live in a world where the unqualified reviews our work. Those, I'm in the restaurant industry, and you have people that are unqualified, that are not chefs, that are not business owners, but are always telling us how we should function, how things should exist, what we should be doing. We ain't doing all we can do. You know how that go, right? So if you're in a business where you deal with the public, you deal with a whole bunch of novices. Let's take social media, for instance, where people Photoshop, doctor, and present the photos, all the images that they want to present to look perfect, in an attempt to tell people, hey, I made it, and I'm perfectly making it. And many of us will look at them images and stuff, and our business is not where their image says their business is, or our marriage is not where their image. And as you hear me saying, their image is saying it is. And so we begin to push ourselves harder and harder to achieve this sense of unrealistic expectation that our humanity, our human faculties cannot achieve, right? So the reviews, the criticism gives us anxiety about what we're building or we're creating, and we begin to attribute challenge to the lack of perfection. So I'm not seeing the growth that I want in my business because I'm not perfect, because I'm not able to achieve on this level that this person said I should achieve on, or they are achieving on. And so it's a pain because we're trying to create something that's uncreatable consistently. Now, you may hit the mark some days. You may be able to achieve the goal, but every day will not be the day that you achieve the goal. So, but true perfectionism is destruction, right? I'm gonna say that again. True perfectionism is destruction. All right. Perfectionism doesn't mean you hunger for excellence. Perfectionism means you fear, and not only failure, but every stumble and every doubt, every embarrassment that might await us. That's why we are trying to be perfect, to avoid them stumbles, them human moments where you lose it, the moments when you can't figure it out. And we try to be perfect so that we don't feel embarrassed. For me, this is really an aha moment for me, right? Because for years in the back of my mind, I pursued things to prove something to people that did not believe in me, or I pursued things to try to recreate a moment of embarrassment as a moment of success. Like, I want to replace that moment with this moment, and I need them same people to see me be perfect and achieve these things. Mother, father, sister, brother, whoever it is, right? These are the people that subliminally I'm trying to prove that I'm perfect too. That customer that gave me a bad review, or that individual that had so much negativity to say about my beginnings, or about my middle, or about my challenges, right? So real perfectionism is destruction. It's destructive, right? Because you're trying to avoid embarrassment. But on the path of success, we can't avoid stumbles, falls, bruises, and challenges. So really what perfection does, or the pain of perfection, it paralyzes us. because we cannot move forward. We cannot evolve because we're living in a moment where everything has to function correctly for me to be able to move forward. And if something does not happen the way that I planned it to be, in front of the people that I plan to see it, I am unable to process that. I'm unable to move from that moment. So now I'm ever chasing that moment. I'm ever chasing that time, right? So some of you may relate or empathize with the pain of the perfection. Some of you may relate and reject the notion that perfectionism is a problem, because we live in a world where people are constantly trying to be perfect, losing weight to be perfect. It is nothing wrong with healthiness and losing weight, but to prove to people because our image is more important than what is internally inside of us. Something is wrong with that, and but whatever degree, of compassion or acceptance or skepticism, please know that when I'm trying to be perfect, I'm not being myself, right? When I'm trying to be perfect, I'm not being myself, because part of who I am is imperfection, is flawed. It is some issues, right? And this is, I love the word of God, and I'm not here to preach to you all, but this is why we need a savior, because the imperfections of us is loved by our creator. No matter how many people don't like him, no matter how many people don't like Terrence, who don't like how I do what I do, there is someone that loves me. And so when I'm in the throes of perfectionism, I believe that if I am handsome enough, skinny enough, smart enough, rich enough, all the enoughs, I won't get hurt. So I'm striving for perfection because something in me doesn't want to be touched. I don't want to experience disappointment. I don't want to experience the potential, right? See, one thing about fear operates on the potential of a thing. The thing may not happen. It may not even have the necessary ingredients to manifest, to happen, but because fear is so paralyzing in our mind, that just the potential thought that this may happen, it's powerful over many of our minds. And so we pursue these things of perfection, and we try to be enough for our family, try to be enough for this person, try to be enough for our employees, and try to be enough for all these people, ultimately not realizing that we are afraid of something, and that fear is driving us, and it's not faith. It's that fear that's driving us, right? So I don't want to get hurt again, because usually an act of pain, an act of despair, an act of disappointment, an act of betrayal activates perfectionism. We begin to say, they will never be able to say that to me again. I will never be in this position again. I will never have to go through that again. Now I understand speaking them things and really setting yourself apart to grow and to move forward. But to the point where we're so anal that we don't understand the process of the pain or the situation that arise in our business, in our life. There are so many people that are entrepreneurs, that are dreamers right now, and your energy, the force by which you're moving forward, the force by which you are pursuing, is polluted by the pain of your past, by the rejection, by the critics, by the people that didn't believe you, by the gossipers, by the people that didn't want to invest in you, and it causes incorrect force of movement towards a thing that you should move towards, but the energy, the spirit by which you're moving is not going to help you, right? So let's get deep into this, right? So truthfully, as a result of me being a perfectionist, it can be hard on other people because I am not, they don't understand that when I'm being a perfectionist, I'm kind of agreeing to some things that I shouldn't agree to because I want people to see me in a certain light. But ultimately, they don't understand that when I fail or when I go by myself, I'm my worst to myself. I'm whooping myself. I'm abusing myself because I'm missing the mark. They may not see that. They may see that this is how he is. He's always, anal about this and then the third, but they don't see that I'm struggling with perfection and it's pain to struggle with that thing, right? Let's get deep in what perfectionism does. So when how am I say it? So perfection can reveal we have bad pride. Right? That's the first thing. Perfection can reveal that we have bad pride. There's some good pride, you think well of yourself, you can, follow instruction, you take care of yourself, but bad pride is an independent attitude, an independent heart, where we're so prideful that we can be drowning and we won't lift our hands for help. And usually that is a result of a moment in our lives, in our business, in our path of life, where we asked for help. And either we got the help or we received the help. And the help was beat. We was beat with the help. We was put down because we needed the help. Or we asked for the help and we got no answer. And that created a subliminal set part in our mind that I'm not asking nobody for nothing. Because no one is going to ever be able to throw in my face what they did for me. No one. So perfection can be arise from that moment of rejection, that moment where we asked for help and now no one wanted to help us, or they did. And now the pride says, I'm going to be so perfect that I don't need to ask you for anything. Another thing that happens, perfection can reveal we are broken. So we pursue perfection to prove to our critics we are not what they said we are. One of the greatest things that you have to work on as an entrepreneur, a dreamer, and a creator is perception. Be careful not to adopt the perception that others will superimpose on you from their jaded, half-proof opinion. I've struggled with that in my life, especially in business and ministry, where family, friends will have a certain perception, and you always can kind of decipher that if you just listen. How people talk to you, how they interact with you. Early on in my business, in my ministry, in my marriage, we didn't have a lot. We didn't own a house. We didn't have a lot of disposable income. And many family members were not quiet or slow to make us feel as if we were poor. They disregarded whatever we was working on potentially to build something, because what people don't understand is that many times you are surrounded in families, friends, relationships around people that don't build anything. They just consume what others have built. And because of that, they do not understand the process that you have to go through when you are building something, sacrifices financially, things that you may want to do that others can do, vacations, so on and so forth, shopping sprees, buying $300 pairs of sneakers. When you have something you're creating, there's some things you have to sacrifice. But when you are surrounded by individuals that are only consumers of something that someone else has built, they have never built anything themselves. And the thing that they know they should build, they're too afraid to build. So you have to realize that their perspective of your life when you're trying to create is ignorance, is lack of wisdom, because they see you through the lens of recklessness because you're chasing something they can't consume right now. You're doing something that they can't purchase from right now. You're working on a product that they can't understand right now. And so be careful that you don't allow their perception of you to be superimposed on you. And now suddenly you start to believe that you are what they say you are. So now in order to shake it off, you're trying your best to be perfect, to prove to them that I'm not what you said I am, instead of just knowing that you're not what they said you are, right? Because your mind is where the wars are at. Every day in your business, you're fighting a war to believe that customers will come in. You're fighting a war to believe that your family will be better. You're fighting a war that you will have the resources that you need, that you may have and build generational wealth. You're fighting against, especially if you come from a unit, a family, an environment that what you're doing is not always done, has been done. You're trailblazing a path, a moment, a time. You're solving a problem. And so you have to realize that when you begin to allow those to superimpose their perception on you, mama, daddy, whoever, I've had close family members try their best to discourage me and to cause me to give up on what I'm building because they don't understand it. But you have to realize also too, it's nothing wrong with pursuing perfection. We should want to be excellent. But is there a problem when we become infatuated with perfection? When we become so infatuated with what someone has said that it sends us into this mental challenge, trying to achieve something that can't be achieved in the way we're trying to achieve it. All right. So let's look at this some more, right? Perfection steals our fun for the job, right? And steals the joy for the process of learning. What it means is that when you're pursuing perfection and you are having anxiety about hurt, about failure, about embarrassment, what happens now is that you skip the class of failure. You skip the class of pain. Now, the most vital products to our society have come through the process of failure and pain. Them are two necessary ingredients to be able to produce. See, the problem is there are many people that have something great in them. And the reason that it's not tangibly in this earth, the reason that they quit is because they had an issue of imperfection. They could not figure it out on the first try. They could not get it together on the first thing. And because of that, they gave up. Instead of allowing the failure to not make them be a failure, but to understand what failed in the process and take that as a learning and have fun with it and laugh about it. See, the issue is if you give up, you are a failure, right? You've given up. There's nothing else more to do when you give up. But if you keep on going and pursuing the perfection of a thing, now there may be components in a thing that may be perfected. A process may be perfected, but that doesn't mean that we are perfect, right? We may understand how something is supposed to move and supposed to work, but don't put that perfectionism on yourself to the point is when the next thing comes and it doesn't work as quickly, as efficiently as it was supposed to work, suddenly now you quit. So look at people, even your family, those that had something, was great at it, but it failed in a moment, not in a lifetime. A moment they had experienced, a moment of failure. So don't allow moments of failure stop a lifetime of progression, a lifetime of success. See, the same way I'm not failure, I'm not perfection either. The combination of the two makes me who I am. No one can get on a stage and receive an award and say all they did was win. I know the song says that. It's a nice line and people in the club be jumping to it when it come on. But sometimes all you do is not win. Sometimes all you do is fail to win. And you have to be having fun in that process. You said, TRDO, that's not fun when you in bankruptcy. It ain't fun when you losing money. It ain't fun when people laughing at you. It's not supposed to be, but what you make it, it will be. Because in the essence of that thing, God will give you revelation. And the next time you hit start, it will be better. And it will be better not because you're perfect, but because you understood what perfection is, what failure is, and what success is, and what you have to pursue and how to pursue it. All right. So we must examine the root why we want to be perfect. What's the root? What's the root? Why am I so anal about this, that, and the third? Most of the time, it comes from pain. It comes from rejection. It comes from an inability to process certain events of your life, certain events in your business. And it created this moment and this mindset that if I could just be perfect, everybody would love me. Everybody would care. Listen, I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to me today, right? Because that's how I felt. If I could just have 10 companies, if I could just hit the $1 million list, if I can just have 20 restaurants, if I can just, and you guess what? Burning myself out every day. And they still ain't noticing me. My family, my friends, associates, they still ain't looking for me. I'm burning myself out every day, not getting no sleep at night, hurting me, killing my body, up at 4 a.m, going to bed late at night, coding all day long, cooking all day long, and then, just wearing myself out because I it's something in me want them to see that I can be better, that I'm perfect, that I'm the one they want. But ultimately, they still are stuck in that same moment. One thing you cannot get stuck in, trying to change how people think about you, trying to change how people feel about you. People will run and jump and support and finance who and what they love. Believe it or not, when people say they love you, they are saying they love you. That's the extent of many people's love. I love you. And when people say this is a good idea, that's the extent of their support for your business, right? But really, when people love you, it is followed by corresponding action. It is followed by people investing and getting behind and staying in contact with you, because the war that we fight as entrepreneurs is the war of our mind. It's not the war of our ability. It's the war in our mind that we will be able to keep on being able to do this thing while we're going through this process, while we are going through this tough season, while we're going this lack, while we're going through challenging and hiring people, that we'll be able to have the ability to keep on going, right? So that root, you got to deal with that root to deal with the fruit of this thing, right? So I've been there. I've owned so many businesses that I stopped counting. I've done some extraordinary things. They still ain't looking for me. They still ain't showing up. Heck, they don't even like a post that I put up. If I go live, they don't come on the live, right? So you got to understand, where's the root at? You have to shift that motivation from people, from pain to joy and pleasing God who put you on this earth. And when you start to do that, the heavens will open and everything that you didn't have will be given to you. And guess what? You won't have to kill yourself with perfection to try to achieve that. So it's all right if you're a little frumpy. It's all right if everything ain't fitting the way it used to fit. It's all right if people don't show up. It's all right if you had an embarrassing moment in your business. It's all right if that account is on negative right now. It's okay. Just know that something is in the works. And if you don't quit, if you don't faint, you will reap, right? All right, let's keep on going. So we can become great, but never can be perfect because of our humanity. There is something, we can get to 99.9% perfect And that 1% of humanity will mess up the 99.9% because we're not built to be perfect. We can strive for perfection. We can perfect the process. We can perfect the thing. But we as a human being in our fleshly bodies, we're going to have some imperfect moments. Don't mean that we're bad. That means that we need to rely on our Savior. We need to rely on our Creator. We need to rely on our higher power, which is Jesus, to help us navigate this, because when we go through these moments, if we don't process them correctly, with that moment of imperfection will kill your lifetime of success. All right. So know that many of us are in a pursuit of perfection because we encountered unauthorized critics. I want you to know this today on this podcast. Wherever you're listening or watching, everybody should not be talking to you about what you building, what you're creating. Some people are just not authorized. When someone comes into my life and they're going to give me advice, I categorize them many times in two places. They can give me advice based on the example of what their life is, and I don't want to do that, right? So I'm going to use their life as an example of what not to do. Or they have achieved what I'm trying to achieve. They have a resume that I can track. They have something that they can teach me because they've been where I'm trying to go. They may not have been in my industry, but they've been through things. They can walk me through processes of things that I've experienced, whether mentally, financially, customer base wise, scaling my business, whatever it is, family wise. They have a history of something they have overcome. So when we sitting around, we live in this world of Facebook, Instagram, all these critics, all these teachers and courses that does not have a resume in any history you can track. Be very selective of those that you, especially in your intimate moments where you are weak, when you're going through, when your business ain't making the money, your family is challenged, your life is challenged, your health is challenged. Be very careful of those that you allow to speak into your life, to give you advice, because that one conversation can detour you and cause you to go around in circles, right? There's a story in the Bible about how Moses brought out the children of Israel, and they were slaves, and they got to a place where they started murmuring and complaining. And then a certain amount of the people started to divide the people, right? And he said, whoever's on the Lord's side, stand over here. And whoever's on their side, stand over there, right? And guess what? The ones that went on the other side, they were swallowed up. They lost their lives. Why? Because people have good ways to persuade you to do something you ain't supposed to do, right? With the guise or with the title of wisdom. Wisdom says you should do this, and you need to, and we live in a world. Let's really say this, right? I gotta say, we live in a world where selflessness is no longer. We don't see that a lot. So most of the time when people are speaking to us, they're speaking to us to get us to be selfish. So the product that I'm creating, the podcast that I'm on right now, right? Some people say, well, it don't matter if you do it or not, right? But I'm helping somebody, right? But in their mind, I matter more than the people that listen and watch. And I don't. I'm put on this earth to help you. And as I help you, someone is going to help me. So be careful, because sometimes people can be very creative to talk you out of what you're called to do. I remember, maybe a year ago, I called somebody that I respected, and I was like, I'm going through something right now. I feel like giving up. And they said, yeah, you done worked so hard. You've been doing it for so long. Oh, you got, just, I understand. Now, mind you, this person is speaking to me because they gave up. Right? See, they gave up. And so their advice is the advice that they got for themselves, when they should have been mirroring back to me what I've taught them, what I preach to them, you get what I'm saying? We have to understand that Who is criticizing? Who is advising us? Who's saying we're not where we're supposed to be at? Who is this authority that is saying that? Right? It doesn't matter what title they have given themselves. Who gave them the authority to discourage you? To say your business is not going to make it. So today, guys, listen, there's a pain in perfection, right? And there's nothing wrong with striving to be perfect or striving for perfection, I would say that. But don't be consumed to the point where you lose your mind, your joy, your heart, your fervor, your fire, because you have experienced a moment of failure. And now you have woken up and realized, I'm a human being, right? And all this time, you thought you was some type of superhero, forgetting that you was a human being. And we going to go through some moments of failure. But I'm not failure. I can get perfect some things, but I'm not perfect. See, the same way I can fail and not be a failure, I can be perfect. I can get something perfected, but still not be perfect. And you have to be all right with that. Okay with that. Nobody else may not be. But God and you got to be all right with that. Right? So today was, really personal because I've been struggling with this for years and didn't realize that it hit me in the kitchen line. I'm cooking, and it hit me like, yo, you got to let that go. It ain't always be perfect. You can't manage everything. You can't micromanage everything. You can't put this expectation on everybody. And you have to take it off of yourself because this business ain't going to work that way. In order for something to grow, some parts of it got to die at some point and something can replace it. And so it's like a flower. Every winter, certain flowers die. Every spring, the same flower blooms, and the cycle continues on and on and on until they are uprooted. Be careful to not allow the striving of perfection in the moment of failure to cause you to get out the process of dying and blossoming and dying and blossoming. And guess what? Every death is not the same death as the first death. Every blossoming is not the same blossoming as the first blossoming. It gets better. The more that the plant or the flower is allowed to die and grow and die and grow, it gets bigger and larger and more beautiful. So y'all, dreamers and winners, let go of that spirit of perfectionism. I'm stuttering now, but strive to be perfect, but don't get mad when you can't get it all the time. Listen, love you guys. This is a great podcast today. Subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our Dreamers and Winners podcast on iTunes and all other podcast outlets. And make sure you go on and support all our sponsors on our podcast. Listen, guys, if this has been a help to you, share with somebody else. It's important that we get our mind right as entrepreneurs and dreamers. It's not just about that money, because you're going to get that money and you're going to get that level of success. You're going to mess it up because your mind ain't right. Your heart ain't right. Your spirit ain't right. So let's get everything right. Let's have a total mind transformation today. Right? So listen, make sure you go out and you support. Listen, I need you to go support one of my major sponsors. It's called linkbox.com. Go to linkbox.com. It will give your bio superpowers. You know how we have one link in our Instagram bio. Well, this is a way to link all of what you do, all of your boxes of links, right? All in this one bio, one link you get. You put that into your Instagram, your TikTok, your Twitter, and they click it and they get to experience and stay connected to you. You check my bio out, you see my podcast in the bio. And a matter of fact, don't forget to follow Dreamers and Winners Podcast on Instagram, right? So go to linkbox.com. That's linkboxz.com. And again, that's box, boxz.com. We got a 30-day trial going on because you listen to the Dreamers and Winners podcast. Check it out. It's very affordable, and share with someone else. All right. So we love you guys. Stay tuned the next week. And it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It's going to get greater. And thank you for listening to Dreamers and Winners podcast with T.R. Burns. See you next week.